Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy, and we are back this week for another Star Trek Adventures Aegis. For those of you that ever want to catch this live, we broadcast at twitch.tv/GM in the Great Barrier, and we host this show 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This weekend we are doing it at the special time GMT of 5 p.m., but next week we fall backwards as well, stateside, so it should be next week we're going to be back to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6 p.m. GMT. So just bear that in mind if you want to catch it, whatever time zone you're in. But yeah, we are ready to get started with our next episode, Boom and Bust. So let's go ahead and start off with an officer's log from the chief medical officer. Ben, take it away.
Chief Medical Officer's log, July 20th, 2154. We've been in deep space now for a few months. It's been not the worst of times. We've just finished up a survey mission up in the Biomis Abyssal. We've just been called off of that because of a distress call we've received. We took a brief break not long ago to take on some kind of a probe, might be related to the distress call. I'm not really sure. Nobody's telling me anything about it. But any details about it is restricted, and we've just been sent on our way, and we're back heading off to answer the distress call. That about sums things up. No major medical incidents. Dr. Lambeth out.
All right. Yeah, you close out the log, and we rejoin the Aegis, presently moving through deep space, a relatively unoccupied portion. After having completed your circumnavigation of the um, Boremus Abyssal, it had been decided that due to some incident involving a mysterious probe that was brought on board, that you were to navigate around it instead of trying to warp through it. Of course, details remain quite shaky on that, or there's not much spread out. While we are on the way to while you are on the way to the station where you've received a distress call, I believe, from the ECS Caravel. We will start off with you, Captain, as you are poring over old star charts from your ready room. You receive word from you receive a chime at the door, or rather, something over the intercom. Uh, bridge to Captain Sharp.
Bridge or Sharp here.
Captain, I wanted to notify you that we were beginning to close the distance, and we should be approaching the Boremus, rather the unidentified mining station here very shortly. Uh, we have not received any updates from the Caravel or Captain Byers as of yet, but we are well. I I I actually don't have much else. Yes, sorry, Lieutenant Commander. Mr. Patel has told me he's performed a pre-approach scan, and there's no suggestion of any significant ship presence in the area of any sort. But there's signs of uh, it seems to be an a small clump of asteroids on the outer end of a relatively barren star system.
All right. Have Mr. Patel scan for any traces of impulse or warp trails lingering for as far back as he can scan for, and and switch or set the ship condition to yellow, please.
Okay, sir. Will do, Captain. Um, and throughout the ship now, there's the sound of klaxon going off to, or like a brief sort of chime of the type of klaxon that would denote the sort of secondary alert condition, setting everyone to a generally alert status and um, beginning level 4 diagnostics being performed on the key systems and defense systems brought to an increased readiness, although not necessarily at combat. Um, Everybody who is at their station would be at least ready to go to battle stations if necessary. Going through the rest of the ship, before this happens, what is everybody else doing? Yes, first question. Well, we'll go in order here, at least in terms of descending rank. So, um, let's see. Commander Romanov, what would you be up to in these in this time before you arrive at the station?
Well, we already had our Halloween party.
Not in July, in all likelihood.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if that was a serious question it was posted. Then, gosh, probably just making sure that, just, keeping engineering, up to date. Nothing unusual, just her usual job, probably.
Copy that. Copy that. Yeah. I'll say for your part that everything has been moving pretty smoothly in engineering. You are at least glad you are not having to worry about traversing the abyssal for this, as it has a reputation for a very rough flight while at warp.
Right.
Going on down the line, Shira, what would you be up to? How would you be doing in this particular time?
I also want to know how Shira doing with all the knowledge she just gained from the end of last session.
Copious drinking.
If she's off duty, she's likely working out in whatever passes for the ship's gym.
If presuming that were the case, you would certainly be called to duty very soon afterwards once the ship was set to an elevated alert condition.
Yeah, quickly towel off and put uniform on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, then I guess going down more on the list, Doc, what would Dr. Lambeth be up to? If anything in particular, outside of recording his log, of course.
Yeah, I don't think he's got any particular plans. We're kind of just traveling on our way somewhere, so I guess going over inventory, stuff like that. I mean, he knows they weren't doing a distress call, so making sure everyone's ready to take on casualties and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just going through logistics.
Yeah. You do have a vague notice that there was some sort of medical emergency that seemed to be occurring at the station. That is indeed part of the reason why the Earth freighter is being detained there. But there's not.
Does he have any more details on that?
There hasn't been much more forthcoming from the freighter. Indeed, there haven't been any follow-up signals since since just before you were about to originally head out. The freighter had it at its last message confirmed that it would await your arrival, but it has not been answering any other follow-up hails, if any were sent. So
Okay.
you are very much walking into the unknown.
Yeah, so in that case, there's not much more you can do to prep, just logisticsy things.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone else is stealing themselves at this point. What of
Yep,
Mr.
one-
Saral?
All right.
Soral is in his lab, I assume. Uh, there is like a mostly disassembled tricorder on the workbench, and some what's a good word, diagrams and like formulas for warp drive calculations and antimatter matter reactions, etc., etc. Just like working in chaos.
A natural fit for our everyone's favorite Vulcan scientist and engineer aboard this ship.
For the captain, once she has reached a point that she can stop, she'll put it away, straighten out her uniform, and make her way to the bridge.
All right. So, by the time that you make it there, senior officers that are on duty there would be any senior staff that's headed to the bridge would be up there by that point. So I'll go ahead and move this on.
I would also, once I'm up there, and say, Crichton, could you summon our newly appointed guide to the bridge?
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Sorrel to the bridge. Mr. Sorrel to the bridge.
Be right there.
Do you want me to get anyone else while I'm on the line?
No, thank you, Mr. Crichton.
Okay, very good. Everyone throughout the ship had heard Crichton make that, like Crichton's end of the conversation there.
I assumed.
It is not the first time he has made that mistake. Anyway, a minute or so passes, and Saral, as you enter the bridge, calmly looks back to you and says, Captain, we should be at the coordinates within, I'd say, just about 2 minutes.
Does our visual sensors have seen anything in the station yet?
Anything around the station?
Yeah. Do we have any visual on the station or the caravel? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can pull it up here now. From what you're getting, the visual representation seems to portray a small area of kind of basically in an outer asteroid belt, or not quite as far as what would be an Oort cloud in an equivalent star system. The place that you're approaching is relatively empty. I'd say probably it's a little unusual just insofar as for a going back over my notes here.
No worries. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it's a smaller red dwarf star, actually, and there's very little out in the main system. There are scatterings of like asteroids around different parts, but nothing actually as large as a rocky terrestrial world of any sort. It's like for whatever reason, when this system formed, there just wasn't that much material to accrete for anything particularly rocky. There are a couple of gas giants. One of them is a hot Jupiter, a gas giant that is essentially within a very tight orbit around the star, such to where it maybe has a 6-day orbital period.
I was almost wondering if it was a bald system, like many stars in the galaxy.
There's there's a second gas giant that is a bit further out, but it is on still a very far orbit from the asteroid, and it is on the other end of the system.
So we have one giant that's closer to us at the current moment.
The closer giant is the one that's actually orbiting the star at a very close distance. Um, the area that you are approaching, there are essentially a few asteroids that are relatively close together. This one would be probably the largest among them, which
All
I'd
right.
say it's maybe roughly like in terms of dimensions, it's a fair-sized planetoid or dwarf planet. It might be like the equivalent of Ceres for relative
Mhm.
size, or maybe no, Eros would be more appropriate.
Any transponders or signals? Yeah. She looks over to Patel or to Crichton.
Uh, let's see, conducting a scan now, sir. If anyone would like to roll for the ship, Patel is going to roll a reason and science roll, which can be assisted by sensors and science.
Yeah, I'll do the
Sensors.
ship.
Okay.
Oh, I need
Let's
to
see.
go way, way down.
Sensors
heaven.
and science, was it?
Yep.
Yep.
And I accidentally rolled twice there, so. Ooh,
Had the same result, so
Yep.
Nope. Very bad.
Oh boy. So that is for those only listening here, that is 2 successes from Mr. Patel, and that is a complication from the ship. So, I'll leave this broadly open to the crew.
This is the role which we're meant to start getting
Point of
momentum. Oh well.
point of order. Are we at 9 threat or does it we reset because of new adventure?
I took 3. I had 3 threat left over from the last adventure, and then I took. Actually, to be fair, well, let's see. How many players do we properly have?
'Cause that's a lot of threat. 9
yeah.
threat's a lot.
I should only have taken 8 because we only have the 5 players technically, or rather, I should only be up to 8. I took 5 at the start of the session. There's a
Ugh.
compelling argument, I suppose, for me to have taken one for the terrible puns at the start, but
they were great puns, I'll have you know.
No, they weren't.
We should get momentum for these puns.
for the right puns, maybe, but not for this.
I feel really punished right now.
No, stop.
Don't make me take back my threat.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I respect that sentiment. I will drop that threat for that reason alone.
I think I need to change one of Thrall's values to inquiring minds need to know.
Oh, spectacular. That being said, there's a complication on the board. Would you prefer to take that as a narrative complication? Would you prefer to take that as a giving the GM a point of threat, or would you well, you have no momentum to buy it off, so that's not an option. So those are your 2 points.
We just take a complication.
Yeah.
Go story.
Sure.
Go with story based one.
Copy that. Patel adjusts the sensors, and I think as part of that, I'm going to set this. I'm going to drop a bit of threat in tandem with this. Patel runs these sensors, and actually, it would take a 3rd point for this. Okay. Well, no, I'll call one of them being from the complication. So, Patel runs a full range of sensor scans, and upon looking over, it's like, I am detecting signs of some sort of electronic, like EM signatures. I think a transponder that also matches the freighter. At least it's hard to tell with all the duranium in the area, but well, with our sensors here, I can pick up that there's signs of at least one more ship in the area, or rather that might be present at some sort of docking facility. I'm trying to tune the resolution. There's another beep at his console, and he looks over. Wait, there's a long range contact too. Extreme sensor range. Oh no. Captain, we've got a Tellarite warp signature, something that matches the signature of one of those cruisers or at least the general class of cruiser we saw at Alpha Centauri.
I mean, we did know that the station was Tellarite and Nausicaan owned.
And perhaps you can reappraise us, Cyril, of your experience around here, or your knowledge around here.
Well, from our previous contact, we know that the station is owned by a Tellarite mining company, and I think he says to the off, I remember correctly that it was Nausicaan build, because they tend to build asteroid bases really well. They know their craft.
I am familiar. She nods.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unusual mixture, so to say. I would say generally Tellarites and Nausicans don't exactly mix well. It's a clash of temperaments.
Have there
But-
many dealings with the Zogas Corporation, or
Did I have any particular dealings with them?
Not with Jogus in particular. I'll say that you might have just a passing awareness of them as one of the. You would at least
What do
know
they
that
mine here anyway?
you know that at least their business is dilithium.
Ah.
If anything more about them, I would have to ask you to roll for that.
I mean, I'm always happy to roll.
Okay, I will call this, let's say, I think that this would be appropriate as a command and reason roll with a difficulty of 3. I will say Patel's roll did at least earn you 1 point of momentum to start with. So I will let that float here until you decide A, whether you want to spend that momentum, and B, until we have a designated momentum officer who would like
Can
to.
I argue a focus with investigation or linguistics? I'm reaching. I'm absolutely reaching.
Investigation I will grant you as an option.
That's good because it's not great stats. Yeah, no, I would casually walk through my mind palace and see what I can rustle up. Oh, wow.
Oh, shit. That is,
oh
on a
wow,
difficulty of 3, that is 4 successes. The double crit there. A 1 and a 2.
That's it for this session, guys. I'm not rolling anymore. This can only get worse from here.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you had a good week, and we'll be back next time. In the meantime, applaud for the MVP.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness.
Any underhanded dealings? I mean, dealing with Nausicans always feels like a bit suspicious. I don't want to racial profile or anything, but
wow,
Star Trek taught us anything.
wow.
Hey, I know the plots of the series, okay? Listen.
Okay.
If Star Trek teaches you anything, it's that you can make judges of people's character based on their appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Star Trek's unfortunately two-dimensional. But let's not digress. Yes.
So, as far as what you know of Jogus Corporation, they are on a good day, they're considered one of the more modest players in Tellarites, in the Tellarite dilithium mining companies. They frequently market themselves as being the group that mostly goes after sort of orbital base deposits or those that are further out from essentially larger planetary mines generally. Not for lack of trying, more that they've just had some difficulty getting in with pre-established mining claims. This was a newer company trying to be a bit more disruptive, but a lot of the good spots are taken.
So they take the higher risk sides.
Higher risk, slightly lower reward, but they tend to employ like more modular construction so that they can uh, build. They try to keep costs down as much as they can and get as much out from something as possible.
So is the Nausicaan connection maybe something they regularly do if they go for more orbital or harder to reach?
Working with the Nausicaans in general would seem like an odd choice at first, but if they've identified a rich dilithium vein, then you wouldn't put it past Jogus to try and work with anyone to get something in that if they could extract a decent bit of value. Um, there's actually, I would say, with that amount of with the successes that you'd got, you would know actually you might have heard in passing a story that they were actually working to secure a contract on Coridan, which is the undoubtedly one of the richest dilithium worlds in the local space, and one that has sort of been both the site of extensive proxy conflict between the Andorians, Vulcans, and Tellarites, but also they are wealthy enough to keep a lid on things. There's in some ways, I think the modern comparison might be like they kind of have a modern day petrostate dynamic where they have like they have quite extensive dilithium wealth, and some of that is uh, not to say that they don't have some representative government, but they're not a completely unified world, and the wealthier governments there tend to take more, not necessarily repressive actions against their own people, but there are like complicated social dynamics with the outgroups. So there's always some controversy with anyone doing anything with Coridan right now, and that's at least part of the big news with Jogus possibly breaking in there. That and it would be their wealthiest site, but yeah, until everything's all said and done, that that they'd certainly be likely to get something out here.
Am I aware of any rumors of the potentially unsavory kind about them? About the mining corporation?
Probably not a whole lot. I think Jogus is obviously the directors of the company would like to see a bit more profit, and I'm sure that their reputation is such that most of the stories that are still coming out about them are that they are disruptive and less so about any possible like consequences to that or any issues with the shadiness. The biggest sort of negative that the profit margin isn't what people would like to see.
Fair. Thrall thinks a moment and he says, well, the corporation is one of the, well, I don't want to say minor players in the lithium mining business, but they certainly have trouble breaking into the big contracts, so they go for the more risky and far off projects, as seen here. I point to the screen of the mostly empty system.
She gives a slow nod.
But nothing in particular that I'm aware of that is of interest.
All right. If anything strikes familiarity, let me know, Mr. All. Let's get a slow approach to the station. Let's move down to 1/4 impulse. Let's see what the Zogus cruiser does first. We don't want to make any aggressive stance.
Also, just a quick hello in the chat. Hey there, Crane. Nice to see you. And broad apologies for those on the stream. We might be having some very minor technical difficulties on the stream end here. I apologize for that. I presume you guys can still all hear me okay for now?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We just, it seems like we momentarily cut out for people in the stream. Basic idea is it looks the corporation that is operating the mining station, Saral is at least aware that they're a smaller player as far as like the dilithium miners go, which is integral to everybody having warp drive or decent warp drive. That is. Um, Not a lot on whether they're shady, but that they might have some ties with they might go for ties with more unusual figures by nature of their modest standing.
Right.
So let us get back to that. So any other questions or things that you would want to figure out before you drop out of warp?
Just a brief recap. I'm sorry, it's still morning. I'm still waking up.
Fair enough.
So there are two. We have a station within the system. There that is largely barren in terms of like traffic at the current moment. There's two gas giants within the system that are the only relative planetoids of any significance, with possibly a few moons.
Not even any moons. Patel would know enough to say that neither of them supports one.
All right. But one gas giant's closer to to us, to our approach, while the other one's on the other side of the system.
Yes, the one that is closest to you is all in a very tight orbit around the star, so like nothing is going to be able to survive that.
What is the station orbiting? The star or the gas giant?
It is orbiting the star, and it is like outer star system sort of affair.
Okay. All right. Playing upon her her own experience of such things in multiple ways, she will signal engineering. Bridge engineering. Romanov.
Sorry, I was on mute. Here, Romanov.
Can you prep 2 probes for planetary orbit of several gas giants? Having the usual surveillance sensors attached to it.
Sounds good. Do you want me to make a roll for that?
I don't know. As a GM, I'm just
That's what I was asking.
playing emotion.
I don't think a roll would be necessary for it. It would just be something that you would draw. I mean, not even launching a probe doesn't necessarily require that, or doesn't require a roll, I think.
Sounds good. Okay, then I'll prep them and drop them.
And launch them, rather. Yeah.
She says drop them. You know she
Okay.
means launch them.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Romanov. She clicks off.
You are welcome.
All right, Conley, nice and smooth. Let's not give our more business guests any uncomfortable sort of gestures.
All right, pulling us out of warp. And before we transition scenes here, I just have to ask, who would like to hold on to momentum for this session?
I'll take it.
All right. Sending it your way, Shira. Okay, so Connolly pulls back on the warp throttle until the warp field is neutralized, and the ship emerges from warp with mostly space and the sprinkling of stars all about. Ahead of you, however, much of your view is steadily taken up by the nearest of the asteroids. This one being the fair-sized dwarf planet that Patel has highlighted. As you near in, and with some focus of the visual sensors, you actually see there are some signs of development in the station. In particular, there are clear signs of a docking port that is recessed and built into the asteroid, with a few implements or other protrusions that are artificial from the outside. Um, Within the port, you would see signs of at least a couple of ships, as Patel alluded to. One of them is an alien freighter of unknown make. The other is very clearly a Y-class freighter of the sort that is operated by the Earth Cargo Service. So that would undoubtedly be the Caravel. Patel looks at his sensors and says, "It looks as though there's some. It looks as though the station goes a fair ways inside of that. I'm detecting signs of a few additional dockyards. They could probably support berths for half a dozen ships. I am also seeing what might be a weapons emplacement of some sort, but it doesn't seem to be fully powered, Captain. Or even fully constructed yet."
She's just sort of picking at her lips and kind of just glances firmly over towards Shira. What sort of weapons?
Shira, go
Gosh.
ahead and give me a, let's call this security and reason, and I'll let you be assisted by the ship's sensors and science here, if you want to take on the role.
Will my focus in shipboard tactical systems help?
I think it would.
Cool. What was the difficulty?
The difficulty on this will be 1. It would be fairly simple for you to identify a weapon system like this.
Cool. Okay. I will give you a threat to get an extra dice.
The GM appreciates your tribute. Ooh, that is, on a difficulty 1 task, 6 successes.
There you go. Just maxed out the momentum.
We just got it.
You did. You actually have 1 floating now.
Ooh.
Who wants to go to Ryza and freaking gamble the living shit out of everything?
Just remember my previous role there with the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, does anybody want to roll for the ship for any additional floating momentum?
Sure, I'll roll. What was it for the ship?
That would be sensors and science here.
Nope.
Okay, well, while that is a 0, it is not a critical failure. So let's see. So, Shira, you look over the sensors and you can indeed verify it is not completely, the weapon system is not completely operational yet. It seems like it could start channeling power and might have some targeting sensors, but there are definitely signs of components that would that are missing. You would suspect that the system, which you can identify as I sent you in the roll 20 there, it'd probably get off only a few shots at best, if anything.
Seems to be a free electron laser. It's pretty primitive. Really, it's only seemed to be basic weapons, sir. I wouldn't think it should hold any problems should it come to a shooting match, unless they're hiding something.
She just nods, looks over to Crichton, and he hails automated signals. requests.
Let me see. Oh, I'd better switch on the audio here, the subspace radio. Uh, hey, Crichton grabs his ear a little bit before pulling out the earpiece. Um, as he does, you hear what seems like concurrent barking that is running over it. Or like you think of the cartoon depiction of when like a phone receiver is vibrating and airwaves are palpably moving off of it from someone
Yeah.
screaming at you. Uh, Sir, I do believe that we have a couple of hails.
She can't help but just smile a little bit. Give it a minute and then see what they would like and bring it up to this. Bring it up, she says.
Oh, okay, right. Hello. Yes, hello. Okay, one at a time, please. Yes, hello, hello. This is the starship Aegis. Okay, one at. No, I do not mean to disrespect your maternal ancestor. Uh, yes, yeah. Hold on. I'm going to put you on with the captain. Give me just one moment. God damn it! Shut up. Oh dear. I'm so sorry,
Good.
Captain. I felt the rage come over me. Did you want both on at the same time, or do you want me to do this one at a time?
Well, for the current moment, I would like them both up, but the player needs to step out 1 second as I grab my DoorDash food.
Copy
It's
that.
right just now.
Copy that. In that case, let's do the outtakes of other things that Crichton said whilst on the line with the two participants here. No, no. Well, our refrigeration systems are always running. This is a starship. We need the food for. Oh, I see what you did there. Alternate take. Uh, no, no. Well, I'm not calling about that. No, we don't need an extended warranty. Alternate take 3. Who wants to pitch something else for this next one? I've got it. Um, no, yes. Oh, I recognize you. I I believe that you owe me money. Oh, this is why you shouldn't let the GM go on and on. I'm going to make a
I'm
fool.
back. Hello.
Hey, I only
It
slightly
looks
made
like
a
a
fool out
tornado
of myself.
was. It looked like a tornado was outside, or a tornado hit the neighborhood.
Oh dear.
Ooh. There's branches and just everything out there.
I am so sorry to hear that. I'm at least glad that you continue to be okay.
Yep. I also got informed by the DoorDash dude of like, good thing you order from this place. Don't order from anywhere else. They have no power.
Oh jeez. All right. Well, let's move you back to the bridge where Crichton, after a few minutes of wrangling on the comms, says, "All right, I am putting both figures on now." And with that, the visual goes into a split screen, and it gives you two very different sort of backdrops. To your left on the screen, there's what appears to be a fairly nice sort of smoothed out gray metallic like sort of pig iron colored backdrop, very utilitarian, with a very smooth polished desk on it. And at that sits a Tellarite gentleman, very well coiffed and with a very short graying beard. in a green shirt and a pin that you suspect might relate to the company, some sort of sigil you don't recognize. He keeps his hair much shorter than most Tellarites you might have encountered, and he sits at he's sitting at the desk with his arms to either like meeting in the center with his hands clasped together. Think sort of the Mr. Burns pose.
Sure.
To the other side, against a more rocky backdrop with some sort of draped banners or cloth in the background, um, stands a bald, well-armored and well-muscled um, Nausicaan gentleman, someone who also probably seems a fair bit older. Um, Certainly based on the scars that he seems to, or a couple of scars that he seems to wear, uh, with some degree of grace, and you maybe get the sense that there is the slightest bit of hair tied in a sort of top knot behind his head. So these are the two figures that you see on the visual. And I'm going to move this in a bit closer for our friends in the stream here. There we
As
go.
soon as we're on the portrait, or on the visual, how quickly am I freaking steamrolled by their
Almost
chanting?
immediately and simultaneously. It started like I could roll a die, or I could flip a coin, and it could land either way. With the element here, you know what? Give me, just for the sake of fluff, give me a command and insight roll. I'm going to call this difficulty 2 in order to parse out what each of these people are saying and see if you can just get the details as they immediately
Well,
launch in
I
there.
do know two individuals that are very close to me that would practically have this as a skill, and so I'm basically had enough experience with such things. I'm going to take a momentum because we have a shit ton of it, and
Yep.
I have diplomacy as a focus.
Yep, you still have
Um,
floating momentum.
Oh, I do. Cool. How much floating momentum do I have?
I believe that there was, let me double check
There's
from.
one.
Yep, there
one
was
floating.
1 point of floating momentum from Shira's massive
All right.
success.
Do you guys mind if I? Well,
Go
no,
for
I'll
it.
keep 3.
Use it.
Yeah. So I'll use a floating momentum to get an additional die, and then, none of those talents matter at the current moment, so I am going to use it now. Here we go.
Okay,
Oh,
so
no,
with
that's the wrong one. You said insight,
yes,
right?
insight.
All right.
What would your
I'm looking
insight
at
be
dice.
versus presence?
It's 8 to 10. Or sorry, yes.
It would be down. So that
Um,
would be 8, which would make the total target a 13. So you rolled 1 critical success, which
so I got 3.
obviously stay.
I got 3.
Yeah, because the original roll had been had appeared to be 4 successes, but with the revised version, that last number, or one of those numbers of 15, would not have counted towards that because it would fall under the target number. With Star Trek Adventures, it's a 2d20 system, so the idea is to roll at a target number which is the sum of an attribute and discipline for those of you following at home that don't know the system so well. So we'll go with that. With 3 successes, you parse out the conversations enough to where you can logically break down parts of what they are saying and sort of compartmentalize the important details, let us say, and
I'll let them go on for a full minute.
Yep.
And with my offhand towards Crichton, I just motion my hand downward as if to turn down the volume just a little bit.
He does that, and you and the rest of the crew listening, you are subjected to the barrage, but through that, you at least pick up bits such as the following. So starting with the Tellarite figure. I'm Administrator Gent of the Jogas Corporation. I don't know what your Earthship is doing here, but this operation is under our authority and we are under the protection of the United Teller Confederation. So if you do anything, if you take any action against us, it would be considered a hostile act. Concurrently, from the Nausicaan, I am Chieftain Hoglul, and I will not condone any attack on this station, nor any breach of the current quarantine. You, you may try my patience at your own peril, and you dare not aid this profit-seeking scum in terms of breaking the quarantine either. Oh, you are a piece of work. Now's not the time to get into this business with Aegis. You will learn your place here, Tellarite, and it goes back and forth for a bit.
Yeah. After that, I give them like another 30 more seconds to see if there's any personal knowledge that they want to accuse each other of, because I know they'll be defensive right afterwards as soon as I start talking. But right now they're focused on each other.
Yep.
So I want to see if there's any accusations or things that certainly they would try to keep to their chest as a currency against me.
There's probably some illusion from Administrator Gant of something about breaching a contract from like an accusation towards the Tellarite gentleman. Also, just for those at home to see a clearer version of that, for those that are watching, I'm going to make our friends visible here and resize those photos for you as we go. So let's see, here is the chieftain and
Chieftain, how do you pronounce that?
Hoglul.
Hoglo. Okay.
Yep. And Administrator Gant. So this is a clearer look for all of you at home. But Administrator Gant here is busy throwing accusations about risk of breached contract, and is also discussing the also, anytime he turns his attention back to you, it's more like you know, this is still sovereign, like they're under the defense of Tellar Prime, so they should you should think twice before trying to mess with them. And the Nausicaan is will spend some time laughing off any threats if it relates there, or talking about how you know the much vaunted Tellar Star Navy, who you haven't called in to help with the current health crisis. And it goes back and forth with that.
Can I, if you guys don't mind, can I spend momentum to obtain information?
Yeah.
Can I, from the way they act to each other, at what stage is their antagonistic relationship? Have they been doing this a long time? Have they been fighting each other a long time? Have they just started having these problems? Have they always had problems with each other? Is this more immediate? Is like they're new to each other, or they've been working with each other for a long time and now this has become a problem?
I would say that this particular relationship, it seems like maybe there's some bickering elements that would suggest maybe like some sort of odd couple dynamic, or a Quark Odo type thing.
Mm-hmm.
They it's the sort of thing where in normal times maybe they would have gotten along, but in a crisis they seem at each other's throats, or maybe they just perpetually grate on each other, and it is just exacerbated by some sort of sudden catastrophe or issue, which, from what you're gleaning, there could be any number of problems. Your arrival and the uncertainty around your intentions, the whatever pressure Administrator Gant is under with regard to the contract he was referring to. Um, it could be something to do with whatever health crisis is going on the station. There's people act very strange and poorly under stress, under pronounced
Yeah.
stresses like that.
I know that one
Like
quite well.
we all don't know.
um, she will wait until she I've said she wait until she got all she needed, and she says, "Gentlemen, can you put the volume back up, Crichton?" She says,
Yes, sir.
"Gentlemen," she says with a snap of command that is long experienced.
Yep.
I am Captain Sharp of the SS Aegis. I have come here as a mission of exploration, diplomacy, and also a distress signal from the ECS Caravel, one of which is on the station. While I respect the priority and certainly the emergency of a quarantine, certainly I like to be informed of the situation at hand, given the fact that the ECS Caravel does have some connection to Earth, which is my homeland. As to the Zargus Corporation, while certainly there is some respect to any corporation that wishes to better excel and bring further life to any civilization, there are certain amounts of restraint I have for a rather minuscule corporation as the Zogus Corporation, especially with an incompetent administrator at this current moment, she says. Though certainly you can change my opinion, Mr. Administrator Gant.
There is a beat in which there is a moment of silence, and before disgust and annoyance can form on Gant's.
The moment for anybody, like if there's a moment of beat, I will catch it right here, right now, and I will say, as soon as they both of them even try to raise a voice, she'll raise a finger, one at a time.
The disgust continues to form, but it is punctuated immediately by loud, boisterous laughter from the Nausicaan. I like you, human. Captain Sharp, is it?
Indeed so, sir.
Oh.
Since you are wishing to speak first, you have the floor at the current moment.
Gant.
But do you understand that as my prerogative at the current moment, I am willing to switch over to administrator when I feel fulfilled?
Very well. I shall allow it. Well, Captain Sharp, I am Chieftain Hoglul of the owner and overseer of Zoran Station. While there is a Jogus mining expedition, this is my territory, my outpost. And I do not mean to disappoint your mission of exploration, he says with, it seems almost a very slight bit of disdain as it rolls off its tongue.
Mm-hmm.
But our outpost is presently under quarantine. No one comes on board and no one leaves until we have resolution to this health crisis.
I understand and respect that, Chieftain. Perhaps you can give further detail to my medical staff. Certainly, While we are likely not as capable as someone who is experienced with such an outbreak, we certainly are willing to help in any sort of emergency services. Especially since at the current moment there are several Earth citizens within that quarantine. I have no desire to breach quarantine or any sort of political incident. Simply wish to help your station while I am here.
Hmm. His face scrunches up a little bit more, a few wrinkles showing up on one of the on his facial ridges. He seems just marginally like there's a moment's hesitation, perhaps. And
Um,
Gant is going to actually take advantage of that and say, yes, yes, why don't you let the medical team on board and let them help? Let them see what conditions you have set up here, Chieftain.
I'm sorry, but I do believe I hear some sort of small animal barking, she says, looking over in the direction of Gant. I didn't ask you for you to speak, Administrator, but since it seems at the current moment there is a reprieve with the chieftain, I'm willing to listen to any complaints you have.
Well, at least at least those ears work at least those ears work a bit better than your judgment seems to. Oh, and here I was thinking that human reputation would have preceded itself slightly differently.
As I would tell right, but apparently we both could be disappointed.
Gant, you get the sense he frowns very slightly. You're trading him barb for barb, as is expected by Tellarite culture, but
Mm-hmm.
he's still not happy with the situation in many ways. What the chieftain fails to mention with this quarantine is that it's only been affecting the broader settlement under his control. Uh, the Jogus facilities have been well maintained and sealed off. It meets the quality that as expected of any of our company's operations. We don't have any disease here, and we have a shipment of dilithium ready to go back to the home world. Uh, this move to keep us here has been capricious and indeed puts us more in danger the longer we have to stay here and risk even the chance of exposure. Not to say we aren't all leaving, but that ship needs to get out of here.
I can respect a businessman looking to some degree towards their business, as certainly they don't want any slight to get away of customer appreciation. But certainly it's not the first time that the Zogus Corporation has smelled the air, as it were, and run cowardly back into their home, shouting everybody that they're not at fault. And I am sure that any of your customers would be more than glad if perhaps even one of your workers perhaps was a carrier and certainly spread upon the rest of your customers. How good would your profit margin be after that?
Our medical facilities are of the highest caliber, and we've detected no sign, yet you will not share them with us.
She, with a closed fist, she thumps the metal of her chair. Did I ask for either of you to start arguing? I'm pretty sure I laid down the ground rules.
They both momentarily silence themselves. They seem to. It is partly, I guess, an acknowledgement of your commanding style, but also they seem to be preparing their next moves in their head.
Of course they are. She will rub the temples of her head. How long has this infection been a concern? She looks over to the chieftain.
This infection is, well, whatever health crisis is behind it, one I've been attempting to investigate. It first started showing its signs earlier in the. I suppose it has been roughly 2 weeks now.
Has there been any deaths at the current moment? Or any other incapacity?
No
Incapacitation.
deaths. No deaths yet, but others and there are serious signs of people suffering great illness, and we have not been able to reverse it or identify a cause.
Have you established some sort of clean method in which to acquire supplies or any other triage?
He's silent for a moment and looks down. Our infrastructure was not ready for this.
I understand. I will talk with my chief engineer and my chief medical, and there should be something we can do to help you while still maintaining the quarantine. And as to you, she says, looking over to the administrator, you and I will have a more personal chat if you are so clean of health.
I'll be sure to send along my physical. It's company mandated.
I am sure. But given how clear-cut and dedicated they are to business, I'd rather have my own chief medical examine you, if you don't mind. I have to have my chief medical do something along the way, I'm sure, she says.
Oh, very well. So long as he's not going to oppose your team coming on board.
As soon as he says that, as soon as he starts talking, she just hangs him up. Hangs him up.
Oh, you give the signal. Crichton cuts out Administrator Gant.
Yeah. Is there anything else you need, Chieftain? We have a transporter. We can at least transport food, any other necessities.
We do have a food supply at present, some reserves and hydroponic gardening. I wish I could say otherwise, but you may wish to bring along personal security for whatever detachment that you send on board. Also, I would not have your people be exposed to this, so if you wish to come aboard, I will ask that you take appropriate environmental precautions. Otherwise, anyone you send over will need to remain on board the station until we have an answer to this.
GM, given the hats that Nauskins typically wear, I probably know a lot about Nauskins, or a fair bit. Do I know anything about this clan, or these people? These people in particular, rather.
So I think that the information that you and very broadly at least Saral and Shira would know would be that the Nausicaans, as a general principle, they come from a definitely a harder sort of planet, or one that is on average much less hospitable, and thus are very much of a mindset and a mindset, temperament, and physiology that by and large coincides with being very hardy and resilient. Um, a great many Nausicaans take to like going out into space, in part because that sort of it's a logical step for a hard scrabble bunch like them.
Right.
Culturally, they do tend to, or they're I would say that their space exploration is marked by something between something akin to the joint stock companies of old, a part of it like possibly just being outright piracy, and in some cases bits of familial ties or otherwise like compacts that are sealed in blood or something of equal value. Kind of there's
Similar to Orion's, but less pretty.
yeah. Um, so it's no strange thing for Nausicaans to be this far out into space and oftentimes to carve into asteroids to create bases. More often than
Right.
not, um, it is something they prefer to keep hush hush because they tend to be they're basically bases for raiding craft and less savory type outposts.
Do I know this tribe or compact in particular?
You don't recognize what or you don't recognize anything or there's nothing in your past year of pirate hunting before you came to the Aegis that
Well, more
gives
than
you
that,
anything
but yeah,
on
past
Hoglul.
few years. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, she'll nod. We will certainly keep that in. Try to keep to that as strictly as we can. Chieftain, I'm certainly giving you as much care as I can, given the situation. I only ask. This is not a trade, but merely me asking you from one leader to another that perhaps you can establish any communication that you can find for the people that have been locked with you from the ECS Caravel. I would like to know that how they are doing and if there's anything I can provide for them.
Only only some of the humans that are ill are on board the station. At least one more case was apparently back on their freighter, and they have not permitted us access, nor we the return of their people. Anyone transitioning from the station to the ship or its departure are firmly off the table until we have resolved this crisis.
I understand.
But I will
But
not jam your communications.
thank you. Is certainly we've tried several communications outside of the distress signal from the ECS Caravel, and they have not received any further responses. Was that due to your jamming or to the Zogus?
I have. He pauses for a moment.
I am watching him like a hawk.
We have been trying to discern this situation more precisely before we went more broadly with it. For long range purposes and to keep less savory characters away, I have not been permitting communications outside the system.
I understand. And given the discreet nature of this place and this location, I can understand your desire for such precautions. Very well. If you can let me in communication with the Caravel, I will see about getting you everything that I have desired, and as you desired, sir.
Very
Thank
well.
you. Thank you for being hospitable, chieftain.
I'll just meet your reply with a wordless stare, maybe the slightest movement of his head before he cuts the line.
All right. These sort of things, as opposed to deities, I actually enjoy for this than before. Okay. She will inform the doc. Actually, she'll say,
Are we calling a staff
Captain,
meeting, sir?
Yeah, let's make a staff meeting.
Okay, will do. So, if you still want to call on to everybody, then and move
Yeah,
people.
let's call in everybody.
Yep.
Let's go over to the staff room.
Yep. So, commercial cut. A moments pass where the I don't know whatever would be an alternate universe GMGB advertising, or I suppose UPN if that still existed. That was what Enterprise ran on.
Oh man, UPN. Those were the days.
Yep. But yeah, suffice to say, a fair bit of time later, or when we come back from our commercial break, uh, we cut to the staff room of the Starship Aegis, or rather the conference room, where most of the senior staff has assembled. Creighton has been going a bit back and forth whilst sending messages to exchange words with the what is it? Messages with the Caravel, to which Captain Byers has said he'd be willing to talk more at length later, but that his crew are presently fine. Well, with one exception,
Okay.
who's in sick bay.
He doesn't need any supplies or anything like that.
Not at present. He seems to say that he seems to have what he needs right now, but that may change, and that he would keep you posted. Um, Also, hello there, Loopy Bob 02. I don't believe anybody tried to run an insight check to determine the Nausicaan's honesty there, but that'll come into play more later, I'm sure. Until then, let's cut in with
I
the.
fucking forgot is the thing. But it is what it is.
Yep, yeah, it happens. This is an actual play, so we're doing it live. So when we cut into the scene, everybody's in the staff room, and Colonel, you have relayed to everyone else what has just happened on the bridge. For anyone else that needs to ask questions, then you may certainly do so. You could also connect anyone in if you need like a word from, say, Byers, or if you want to try and call in the Nausicaans or anything else, or the Jogas people. Crichton doesn't like the idea of calling either of them in the meeting, however.
One step at a time. So the captain would relay you everything that has been going on for anybody who was not on the bridge.
So, clarification: where is the Caravel's crew located at?
Most of the Caravel's crew is still within the ship itself, though sealed within it, and they cannot leave the station. They are still moored into the station itself.
Are they infected?
We have no certainty yet. Which has the Nausicaans given us the descriptions or any medical reports regarding this such and such plague?
So
Telling them?
the vague there hasn't been a whole lot of detail. what information you are getting suggests that there's some sort of unusual respiratory distress, general sort of inflammation, some fever that comes with it, or elevated temperature. It would, in many cases, seem to resemble a sort of generic fever. It has not proven lethal to this point, but it is incapacitating fairly large numbers of people.
Do we know anything about the disease itself? Did they transmit any information?
The Nausicaans have not been able to that's essentially all you've gotten on the symptoms. It seems as though the medical facilities were not quite such to where they have been able to discern exactly what's going on. Indeed, if it like they've remained very vague about quite a bit of it, and I think that they were looking to mention more once you got on the station. But there's nothing like that would actually list or name a specific disease.
Is it just me, or does it all just feel very vague?
I'm pretty well aware it is. Though, for the moment, let's play upon the fact that it possibly is real. Romanov, Dr. Lambeth, what would
Yep.
be required, and how could we engineer a method to give a proper examination without breaking the quarantine? EVA suits, automatically, of course, but anything else?
Any biocontainment equipment we want to bring along, science equipment to analyze, so he can do virology and stuff like that. We might want to take over a couple repair kits just in case Caravel needs some additional help, or her shipboard resources are available to us. But
The Caravel is sealed, and for the moment, I want to focus on the station first before getting to the Caravel. So for the moment, put the Caravel to the side.
Got it.
They are contained. They are fine at the current moment.
Maybe some small, whatever this era's equivalent of is, stuff that can kill viruses and, things like that. So if we have to clear an area to work, and keep biomonitoring up. Anything else you got, Doc?
Not really. Yeah, EVA suit sounds good. That all makes sense.
To get an absolute certainty of what they're infected with, what is the minimum you need?
Equipment wise,
the infected wise, how close do you need to get to them? Do you need just a scan of the tricorder? Do you need biosamples?
I mean, biosamples would be ideal. Tricorder scan could probably do the job. If we want to know if they're infected with something, just, symptoms will do. But if we want any kind of actual detail on the infection, then yeah, we'll want a biosample of some kind and a tricorder scan as well, ideally. Basically, any data we can get will be useful.
I agree, considering we don't have any.
Saron,
Yes.
any personal dealings with the Zocus Corporation?
Me?
Or any
No.
corporation similar to it?
I never had any direct dealings with them that I could remember, or indirect for that matter.
Any. She pauses and gives a small smile. Any similar relationships out there that you've tried to accrue or perhaps had a misunderstanding with?
You mean
I'm
between me
asking
and
you.
the lithium
I'm
mining operations?
more towards corporation talk, business talk.
Individuals, sure, but rarely speak to entire corporations as an entity of the corporation. If you know what I mean.
She nods.
Try to stay away from them mostly.
I would think that you would try to get in touch with some of these just for the fact of opportunity for the resources they exploit.
Again, individuals, sure, but the corporation as a whole is too large and too.
From what I understand, when it comes to a lot of corporations, it tends to be more individualized as much as they claim to be otherwise. If you can join me the next time we have a communications or actually an examination and discussion with the administrator, I'd be more than happy to have you on board, Cyril.
I'm glad if I can be of help.
Maybe you can, after I'm done talking with him, can have your own separate conversation and see what's going on beyond simple company appearances.
And as I am not a member of the crew in an official capacity,
and certainly have your own opportunities here.
I'm sure something can be arranged.
She smiles at that. All right. Doctor, just because I don't like him, make sure that any examination with the administrator is quite thorough before giving me clear health. She gives a wink.
All right, sure thing. I'll be extra thorough.
As to the station itself, once I get in finished conversation with the administrator, Shira, I would like you to come along with Romanov and Dr. Lambeth or any other medical officer that he feels would best handle the possible situation. And with a few makos towards the station itself and discern at least if what they're claiming is true. But we want a simple examination, nothing further too deeper beyond that. If so, I trust your judgment, Shira, but do inform the ship of what's going on before
Yes,
making
sir.
any extra steps. Any questions, suggestions? Great. Dismissed.
Okay, so just to clear some.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
one other thing, Skipper. Maybe just have transporters spooled up, ready to bring us back in case this is way more than they're telling us about, and move us to a secure location, so we can decon the suits. It's unlikely necessary, but it's a thought.
Pretty brave of you, Miss Romanoff. If you feel such a thing, then certainly who am I to complain?
I'd rather be paranoid than dealing with an outbreak on our ship, or
I meant more of being willingly transported.
Oh, I'm good with going into crazy situations.
It's quite a fascinating experience.
Yeah, I'm on Sorrel's boat there.
Of course, none was certainly in the back of my mind if such cases arise. Hopefully, it will not need to come to such drastic measures. You said GM to clarify. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just seeking to clarify how exactly you wish to proceed here. If there was a particular sequence you had in mind for where you wanted to visit, who you wanted to talk to, um, and if you weren't certain, give everyone a chance to voice what they thought would be the most logical route. Though if you could do it in character too, that works.
Yeah, it's okay. To break down what I have as to the sequence of things, I'm going to invite Administrator Gent, the administrator, up here to have once he is cleared and has a full, clear bill of health. Have a discussion about the situation at hand and any other complaints he might have, as I'm sure there'll be plenty, to get a better situation understanding from a other side than the chieftain is likely not given us yet. While in the meantime, Shira and Romanov, you should be spending your time prepping for the away team towards the station, to which then Shira, Romanov, some Makos, and the doctor, or whatever medical equivalent, reaches the station, does whatever quarantine precautions are necessary, get your own examination, simply an examination of the supposed disease before making it back to the ship. If there is somehow, as I put in before, a reason as to go further than the orders I have given, I would like Shiro or anyone else to explain the reason before making such a decision. At the very least, I'd like to know so I can prepare on my end before you continue onward. But I trust your judgments. So please.
Okay. We'll call you if things get weird.
Is there any other questions or issues to my plan so far?
Can't think of any. There's unknowns here, and we just can't deal with those until we see them. You know.
Patel will note the one detail that has kind of fallen by the wayside here. I'll be sure to keep an eye on our sensors, Captain. That Tellarite cruiser that I detected is on a course that seems to be en route to us. It seems to be moving at a relatively slower speed, and they haven't launched a major sensor scan of their own, so they probably don't know that we are here yet. But it is a distinct possibility in the next day or so that they could pick us up on sensors, and if they do, well, we know that they're a bit faster than we are, so they could be on top of us pretty quickly.
She looks over to Shira. When it comes to Tellarite cruisers, how effective are those sensors? What's the maximum reach before they would actually detect us, no matter how discreet we try to be?
Would Shira know this?
Give me a security and reason roll here. We'll call this difficulty 2, I think, to remember this bit of intelligence offhand.
Yeah. I don't think any of my focuses will count in this case. And I'll give you a threat to get an extra dice.
Okay.
Question while he's doing
I
that.
did press it, didn't I? There we go.
There we go. You earn
triple roll. Free either way.
Well, I'm only seeing 2 there, but
Yeah.
that for either way, the roll does give you 3 successes on that difficulty 2 roll, which means you have 1 floating momentum. So you strain a little bit to you strain a little bit to recall the rough intelligence that you remembered. There were, of course, several tactical drills that you would have undertaken back in your days in the Guard, and you recall at least some rough briefings that dealt with exercises that would have you go against a Tellarite vessel.
Their senses are either about as good as ours or maybe slightly better.
Do I know anything about Tellurite ships from having, probably not, but my background was my character's family serviced ships around Alpha Centauri. I doubt we ever saw a Tellurite cruiser, but
Yeah, the first time Tellarites showed up on Alpha Centauri, they were helping it to well, quote unquote, helping it declare independence just back a few months ago.
that's what I figured. I just thought I'd ask anyway.
She'll think for a moment. Looking over at I imagine when Patel was saying that, he flipped over the screen to that um, sensor sweep. She'll just eye the dot and then look at everything else around the system. Patel, what gases and matter are in the system right now, as just overall leftovers?
Oh, trace amounts of hydrogen and helium in the system. I mean, there might be some more interesting compounds in the depths of the gas giants, but well, I certainly hope you're not planning on taking the ship that low. I'm not the
Nothing of
engineer
the
here,
sort.
but I think that we'd be well and truly compressed by that point.
If we can use the deflector on this probe, she points to the farther probe, to start charging the space around it, could we create any sort of fake signature of a precious gas that might interest possible potential businessmen?
I maybe are we
I
going
want
for
to create.
operation? Are we going for Operation Shiny Object, Captain?
We are.
I don't know
Since
how
they
well
are
it'll.
proper, since they're all proper businessmen, I am sure that, given their cautious, slow approach, they might see a bit of luxury of making a bit of a detour.
I will certainly I'll certainly get things ready then, if possible, Captain.
Just
Uh,
just enough for a few pings, nothing further. I don't want them noticing the probe itself,
Yeah.
or have concern of the probe.
Sure, you sounded like you're about to say something there.
yeah, I was wondering. If
Mhm.
we got one spare momentum right from that.
Yep.
You do?
Would I know if we parked the Aegis like right up next to the ECS Caraval?
Could we ghost it?
Could we just like? Would it like make the sensors on the Tellarite ship think there's only one vessel there until they get closer?
Making sensor ghost, that'd be cool.
I would say if you were to hang in close to the asteroid, you could probably use it to obscure their sensors a little bit. Definitely, if you pull into the dock, then that does give you a little bit more or well, less of a profile, particularly if you they'd still be able to pick up from a distance signs of like a power signature or very particularly a subspace signature. That could be dealt with by adjusting it, well, by basically taking the warp engines offline and going to a lower power mode. But that
But
would,
he's saying more of like if we get intimate with the ECS Caravel, would the size profile of them both have the Caravel's own profile sort of make it look like the ping of the Aegis was simply a ghost of the Caravel.
yeah, that's possible. Or since the Caravel is presently in a low power mode, they might think that you are its ghost, and they might only know that there's something vaguely Earthship like there. Certainly, at parked there, if they keep up their relatively slow rate, they probably would begin to get that type of resolution or be in a position to even make that type of scan until they were relatively close out. You only had a sense of what the dock vaguely looked like because you were kind of just outside the system pulling a pre-approach scan of some sort, and you happen to have very good sensors.
Cool. So is Shira going to make that suggestion?
Yeah. If we pull in close to the caravel, it might disguise our signature against theirs. The Tellarites might think it's just one slightly strange-looking Earth vessel rather than a Earth freighter and a Starfleet ship.
Conley, how intimate can we make us towards the Caravel?
Well, Connolly, who up to this point wasn't in the scene, but now pops it. He was only slightly. He was out of the camera angle, and he just
Sorry about that.
manifests there. He momentarily lives up to his middle name of Schrodinger. Um, I think I could put us in within. I guess depending on how we Tetris ourselves in, I could probably put us in safely, like maybe 20
First
meters
date?
in.
Second date? All right. She nods.
I bear in mind it's a little bit of a space concern on that dock, but they seems like they built pretty decently sized berths, so we could probably do it. Maybe.
Get as close as you feel safe, feel comfortable with, and probably another 100 meters more. She says with a smile.
Copy that. Copy that. Yeah. Worst case scenario, I can at least park us in the garage.
Excellent.
The reference
All
might
right.
fly over most people's head.
Romanoff would get it.
What's a garage?
Place where you keep vehicles.
You can talk about it on the way out the corridor. She says,
Sounds good.
dismissed.
Thank you.
All right. So,
Shira,
Yes, sir.
when you're done prepping, perhaps you can join me and Saral with the meeting with Administrator, since you do have experience with Tellarites.
Yes, sir.
She just nods and let you go.
okay. So, as I understand it, there was, let's see, you were going to speak with Administrator Gant. The idea was you were bringing him over to the ship, or you were going aboard to
I
meet
put him
with
in
the generals?
quarantine. I put him in quarantine of our own ship, and then I have Dr. Lambeth do as many tests as he feels comfortable, and then some, just so Gant feels welcome. And then once I am absolutely sure he is 100% clean, I will have him in this meeting room with myself and Zeral and Shira.
Copy that. Okay. So, the let's see. Within.
I would. Sorry, I'm cutting in again. I'm really sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I would like any abridged notes regarding the ECS Caravel's captain. I would talk with them a little bit, but just talk them off screen for the moment.
Okay.
Um,
So,
so if you can
yeah,
give me
well,
a bridge of that, what's going on with that?
yeah. Before we move ahead with that, let me ask first: does anybody else wish to hold any other scenes before we move ahead to the business with Gant? If you don't want any scenes, does anybody at least want to look up some other information or say that they want to prepare anything in particular?
This station, it's controlled by the corporation.
It seems like there is a relationship between the Nausicaans and the Jogus Corporation, so it's kind of a. It sounds a
Okay,
bit like a joint venture.
got it. I'll familiarize myself with any files about, Nausicaan engineering or Telluride engineering, and anything that I can glean from our scans about the station, just so I'm familiar with the place we're going.
Okay.
And
It'd
I'll
be nice to know the internal layout.
the internal layout, and I'll put that on everybody's data slates, as well as Caravel. She's another class similar to ours. She's another Horizon.
Well, I mean, she's definitely no Daedalus class vessel, but the Horizon I think is. I actually think that I'm trying to remember which one was which freighter was which, because I'm pretty sure Travis's family ran on an old J class freighter.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and G-class files are on everybody's data pad. Okay, that's the prep moves
Well,
I'm making.
the Y class freighter, if memory serves, so that would have been. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. That was the one that showed up in the Fortunate Son episode. About a max speed of warp 1.8, very low yield weaponry as a general principle. Hauls about 20 kilotons, and let's see, general complement can be around 24. I'd say like a third to half tend to be crew, and the rest are family typically, because these are long haul vessels.
Okay. Then any data about those systems and stuff are loaded into data pads so that teams have whatever they might need. Whatever we've got.
Okay. Anyone else looking to do anything before Gant comes aboard?
I would. So, hails are recorded, right? For logs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back on those logs regarding both the with both of them, both the administrator and the chieftain, and I would like to take time to insight them, more or less, and the responses or anything else.
I gotcha. Well, only because Gant is very insistent about getting on board the ship as soon as possible. I don't know that you'd have time to do both, or that it would be
All right,
as
I'll just do the
productive.
chieftain then. Yeah, I'll just do the
Okay.
chieftain.
Okay. So let's see. Just putting that on the list here. Romanov, the captain's role. Before we get to that, anyone else have anything else they want to put on as far as things they'd like to do?
Since we're dealing with Nausicaans and Tellarites, I'd like to talk through with Mako's and Starfleet security about how they fight, likely tactics they use, just in case anything goes wrong and we end up having to shoot them.
Okay, so let's see here. I take it that would be more just montage that goes on in the background as opposed to full out scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, last call for anything else, either scene wise or other components. Doctor, Saral.
I'm trying to figure out if it's better to approach the administrator before or after the meeting, the general meeting with the captain. I feel that afterwards he's maybe more have a better chance to like get him to agree with me that these Terran people are kind of annoying. But if I were to get with him before, that would give the captain more time to go over the for the secondary inside check.
Yeah. It honestly, my personal opinion, probably before, because that you offer a ear that he may sympathize with while he's being examined.
Oh, that's a good
and
end. Yeah.
and then when freaking the captain and a freaking Andorian are right there and kind of piss him off a little bit, because obviously there's a freaking
yes,
there's a lawman and
piss
an
him off,
Andorian there. He will reflect later of being like, well, at least have somebody in the bag, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Then while you go through the logs and Shira is doing the introduction to the Makos, where to exactly hit the Nausicans and the Tellarites between the eyes, by the way, works for basically all species.
You'd be surprised.
Fair. I would pick up the administrator at the medbay.
Yeah. I think it would actually be the airlock moving from the shuttle, because that would be where the quarantine bay would be essentially.
Or that, yeah, wherever the medical check is taking his sweet time.
Yep. No. I have a good sense of the sequence here. Before that, Doctor, aside from I think a brief scene with the administrator going through quarantine, would you or decon rather, would you like to do anything else or have anything else going on?
No other scenes. I think he'll just use the information he's got to prep his bags and stuff like that with the most relevant stuff.
Acknowledged. So you will have a medical team that can go with you, and I'll go so far as to say that you can consider that an advantage that will come with you and allow you, like, I'll say at least one re-roll per scene that you are in, should things come to it, so they can help check your work as you go once you actually get aboard. On top of that, they have all of the appropriate medical technology, maybe some like triage tents of sort that are sealable and ventilated if it comes down to it, so, or rather that have ventilation systems so that they can screen out any possible contagions and give you relatively clean space to work in. So all that sort of thing is prepped before the shuttle comes on board. So we'll get the montage of you getting to prepare your team, Doctor, of Shira like gesturing with phase pistols and possibly her pulling out her Ushan Tor and like giving the right between the eyes, jab, shoot, what have you.
Stab and twist.
Yep. Yes, actually, that was, I believe, Ambassador Graal's advice at a later point in Enterprise, too. Better to go between the eyes and twist.
Yep.
Yes. Anyway, so let's see. during that time, I guess since you're already full up on momentum, Romanov, I'll give you that Patel shares some sensor scans and you have the chance to go between them. It suggests that there's a dock area that kind of branches off into a couple directions. One goes to a set of modules that were built by the Jogus people, and it seems fairly well separated from most of the rest of the compound. It's a lot of self-contained sort of like rectangular prisms, basically. Some may be built more cylindrical modules based on whatever sort of need handles things enough to comfortably contain, I would say, a complement of somewhere between 100 and 150. It's hard to get a precise read on the number of Tellarites there. There otherwise seems to be branching elsewhere off the dock. There appears to be a there appears to be the main settlement, which has a series of caves that have been pressurized with atmosphere. Um, there are readouts of different alien life signs, some of which you recognize, some of which you don't. And further kind of adjacent to that, there seems to be signs of other Jogus type equipment, which might suggest the mining operation. But the caverns of the settlement, there are several that are connected by tunnels, all pressurized, and you gather that there are different elements, the precise nature of which you would have to learn more by exploring, but you don't have a full record of that. While all of that is going on, we get the briefest shot of after the shuttle has come on board the Aegis, which we'll go back to the orbiting shot here. Before Conley has put it in, or like moved the Aegis into the docking port. We get the briefest shot of the shuttle landing, and within a few minutes, Administrator Gent angrily pounding on the decon plate. I refuse to do that with these assortment of gels. What kind of an outfit are you running here, Doctor?
I assure you we're doing the best that we're able to, and this is what has been deemed to be the most efficient method of decontamination available to us at present.
I am not rubbing these on my aides, nor they on me. That's just wrong.
Well, you can always try rubbing them on yourself. I understand it's a bit hard to reach certain parts with them, but
do you not just have like some sort of I don't know? You've got UV lights in here. Is there not some sort of like gaseous type decon sort of thing? There absolutely is, Ben, but I would I think that just as a stalling measure that you popped out the old gels.
Oh well, no, now that you mention it, yeah, there might be. Oh no, but I think it's not as efficient as the gels, really, is it? I mean, you've got to admit the gels is it's going to be a better way of making all this stuff work than like worrying about with some kind of gas thing. Like you can't really be certain with that, right?
Yeah. The Tellarite pilot who's in there sticks his hand in. This feels very greasy.
It's nothing to worry about, I assure you.
Well,
look, I mean, I suppose. Look, I mean, none of us really want to be here doing this, right? We all just want to be able to go home and get on with the rest of our lives. So I help you out, you help me out. I'll put in the extra work, try and get the gaseous system online and do the decon that way, and you can help me out later on. How's that sound? Just do each other a favor.
Gant stares you over considering this, and I am going to ask you to give me a contested roll here. I would like you to roll presence and medicine to bullshit this guy into using the awful gels. It will be against his command and insight.
There we go. So my what?
You are giving presence and medicine here.
Presence and medicine. Persuasion as a focus?
Absolutely. I think that his
Is it
bargain
worth
for
throwing in a momentum since we've got
Yeah,
6?
do it. Also, if you have any needles or anything else like a biopsy they need to take, freaking do it. Go for it.
All right, so
Alright, let's go. It's 1 momentum.
okay. Oh, Administrator Gant will try to roll against that. Oh
Ooh.
no!
Ooh.
He has rolled 1 success and a complication. Dr. Lambeth, you have rolled 2 successes there, so you win the task, which means that he will stare at you for a moment, begrudgingly raise his hands, and start doing that. I am prepared to let you guys rule on the complication, but or I'm prepared to make this a narrative type thing. I have one in mind if you don't have anything.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to go with, but I'll take suggestions from anyone else.
Anything like something he can't help due to the disgust of the smell or the pain or even his pilot just mentioned something that they were desperately trying to keep their mouth shut about a little bit.
Yeah, that's good actually. If we can get some information out of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so what Gant will do is he'll say, well, can we at least get some privacy here?
Oh yeah, no worries. I'll just close these screens off here.
You close the small viewing port that you have, and Gant immediately lets out a string of profanity. This godforsaken starship. Damn their eyes. I swear these humans are just trying to give us a difficult time because, just for the sake of it, or maybe for the Alpha Centauri business all that ways back. Oh well. I'm sorry. Could you get this bit in my back? I can't get around this dense bit of fur. Oh God, You say this to anyone, I am going to. I will see to it that you're piloting moon shuttles on the homeworld. Oh, well, maybe this will at least ensure that whatever did actually spread through doesn't get to any more of us. I mean, I guess we've got we've got 1 or 2 cases in the and they're already locked down. They'll be fine. Just keep things keep quiet about that around the humans. We've got them sold on the idea that we've got this contained, and what we have, I don't need that. We don't need them knowing that we've actually got sick. Okay. All right. Oh, thank you there. You could be quite tender when you want to be. Shut up! So that continues for a bit, and at whatever moment you decide to interject, you can have the gaseous decon bit spray over them at an inopportune time with the audio still playing.
Yeah, let's go that. Right. Oh, sorry. There we go. Found the button. Is that better?
As you open the screen to look in, Gant's typically well coiffed hair is now a bit out of place and a bit messier. I'll be seeing your captain now, if we're okay.
Oh yes. No, you seem all fine. Yeah, you can go through and see the captain. If you if you won't mind I believe the captain wanted me to do some further medical tests after decon, but we can probably save those until afterwards.
There's a bit of point of order. I want to make sure they're absolutely fine before getting out of decon. Let's not spread the plague into our ship.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just a moment longer then. Let's just conduct a few scans here. I'm sure decon's all worked out fine. I'm just going to come in here with you and do a couple scans, take some bio readings, give it 5 minutes to stew and for all the data to come through, and then Bob's your uncle and you can go off and see the captain.
They pause for just a moment, partly not recognizing the expression, and Gant just waves his hand. Fine, fine. Do what you need to. Just get us out of here.
Yep.
And then
No problem.
reason and medicine, difficulty 1.
Didn't Sorrel want to hop into this too?
I guess they're all just kind of waiting outside the decon tent, whatever
Okay.
the
Fair enough.
station they put up. And it's just like
Just watching, acting
Right.
as naturally as possible, watching the doctor steadily troll Administrator Gant.
I imagine
seeing his face grow increasingly red as procedure goes on.
I imagine seeing the slider be closed with the audio on, or probably earned a smile from Sorrel, right? Because idiots.
I mean, they do like to complain.
Right. Insight medicine, wasn't it?
Reason and medicine, actually.
Reason medicine. Okay.
So that is 2 successes. The task only cost you 1, so that will refill you on momentum.
Nice.
And yeah, there are, by all accounts, from what you understand of Tellarite physiology, Administrator Gant and his pilot are both in perfect health, or as good a health as you would expect. There's maybe a slight reading that would indicate elevated stress levels, but that's so minute it is probably
Understandable.
day-to-day sort of, or it's probably the very specific circumstances here. He might have a mild case of high blood pressure right now.
Tellarite, high blood pressure? No.
So, with that,
Yeah. Oh, well, looks like you're all clear. I'll just pass this information on and take a further look at it in detail, I suppose. But you're all free to see the captain now. I'm
finally.
terribly sorry for the inconvenience.
He just storms past you, and it looks just pilot
Right
says,
into Sora.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, I'm very clearly not wearing a uniform, which hopefully gives me some good graces.
And who exactly are you supposed to be?
Administrator, I see the humans have been dragging their feet, as they like to say, haven't they?
Oh, are you another guest aboard their ship? Switches over to
And of speaking, I am. And as the captain is being caught up in some paperwork at the moment, I'm sure you understand as an administrator, he asked me to bring you to the meeting room and give you the delights of my company. And he just smirks because he's a Tellarite, he's a Vulcan. It's like, it's great company all around.
Your captain is quickly demonstrating the limits and qualities of human hospitality.
Well, I'm sure you can compare notes when she arrives.
Yep. So you start walking.
And I would lead him, I assume we have like a conference room or something, and in a cleared out area to avoid as much contamination as possible, if there is any.
Did you want to have them go to the conference room or up to your ready room?
Um,
The ready room would mean going through the bridge, of course.
no, we're going to the comms room.
Okay.
Because there'll be enough individuals for it.
Fair enough. Okay. So.
And while we walk, so it was just like some casual conversation. Like, so administrator, have a bit of an interesting predicament here, aren't you?
How do you mean?
Well, quarantine is now funny business. How are you handling it? Are you handling it? Clearly challenging him.
I'm doing everything I can to keep my people safe. The Nausicaans, on the other hand, well, if they'd had higher standards to begin with, or not tried to grow this base as fast as they did, maybe there wouldn't be a health crisis, but that's on them.
Well, now it is on you. Because your people are also sick, I assume?
My people are fine.
That's good to hear. I'm very glad. And so this is the conference room, and I kind of look over his shoulder to his aides. To be perfectly honest, Administrator, could I have a moment of privacy to discuss something with you before the captain arrives?
I think that you would need to arrive in a. You would need to take a turbo lift up once you get to the proper deck, so you would indeed have that opportunity.
Yep, you can stop the turbo lift.
Yep.
Yeah, but I would like to talk with without his aides there.
Oh, he left them behind with the.
Oh,
I've
fantastic.
just unilaterally decided he left behind the pilot and anyone else he had there.
They are still struggling with the gels. I see. I understand. No, fantastic. Yeah, then just in the turbo lift, I just. Oh, it's the one with the hand thingies still, right? Where they just have to grab the handle.
I think that actually happens later.
Happens
Really?
later, so you can usually just tab it. You can tab it.
Yeah.
In.
So I
it's still remote controlled. It's an elevator. So you can just pause it.
Yeah, then I just put the NCIS we need to talk stop button.
Yep.
And I go like, Administrator, I apologize for the rudeness, but do you mind if we have a private word before we go and meet a captain and have all this human business and quarantine and everything?
What is on your mind, Vulcan?
Well, you see, I am. They hired me to try to improve some of their systems, which I can say a dire need of my services. And I was wondering if you had any materials that you could sell that are not fit for shipping, like compacted dilithium or some dilithium with impurities or anything else that might be of use.
The dilithium we've been pulling out of this rock is of pretty consistently high quality. Even in spite of the Nausicaans that have been working with us, I can't say that we're coming out with a lot of waste on this.
That's surprising for the lithium mine so far out. The usual channels, isn't it?
Well, this is a productive vein, and believe me, I'd like to work it as long as we can.
So what did you have to do to get your hands on this vein and not your competitors?
He pauses for a moment, looking around. Honestly, we didn't know about it. The Nausicaans were the ones that reached out to us. This Hoglul, he seems a bit more a dreamer than a doer in some ways, or he has the will, but he didn't come in with nearly as much of the means not to set up what he was trying to do as fast as he wanted to. So, when he found out about the dilithium vein, he started venturing out with diplomatic feelers, if you like. I was the one that was able to filter a call from one of our ship's captains when they learned about this, and, well, it was an opportunity that couldn't be refused.
Oh, so you snatched it up yourself.
Yes. We've been working in combination with the Nausicaans in order to build up this mine and the station beyond that. If we can get out everything that we can from this mine, great.
That's quite decisive of you. I respect the initiative. So what's the official cover story for you being here? Otherwise, I assume your captain would have taken control of this operation a long time ago.
When I identified the opportunity, I was able to take it up to the right people in corporate, and they saw fit to see me administer our interests. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the recognition of my talents, but it's no easy task just working with these Nausicaans.
I never had the, and the pause is very pregnant, pleasure of working with Nausicans. What is it? How is it? They seem very rough around the edges most of the time.
This place at times feels like it's 1 or 2 bad days away from self-destructing. Matter, antimatter. You get the picture. At the very least, though, they keep that contained to their part of the settlement. They keep that business out of the mines.
Which are solely run by you, of course.
Which are overseen and partially operated with us. We have a mix of our own workers and with some Nausicaan labor on contract as well.
Is anything of that unusual so far? Aside from a bit of corporate backstabbing. No, I mean a GM question, sorry. Is any of that unusual so far, aside from corporate backstabbing?
Well, it does strike you a little bit odd that not so much Jogis's operation here, but the mere notion of that Hoglul, the Nausicaan chieftain, he seemed to be trying to build up this place with some degree of urgency, I think would be one noticeable quality. Nausicaans are not well known for, particularly given that that hardy, self-sufficient temperament, they aren't known for that type of outreach.
So they needed it to be done quickly. Huh. I'm being honest, I don't know exactly where to go with the conversation from here.
I mean, you already set it up, you got some information, and you set up good rapport. So
yeah, it's probably has to do for now. So yeah. Well, I'm certainly glad everything works out for you. Just a shame that there isn't any off product that I could use. I was hoping, really.
If we don't get that shipment out soon, then there might not be any product to go back home.
Oh, why not? Is the books leaning on you?
I have a deadline to meet. And if there may be the chance that someone at corporate, if they were especially desperate, might have gotten word out to our space service if one of our vessels were to make it out here. Well, let's just say they take it upon themselves to conduct very vigorous inspections, and well, the fees can be quite exorbitant.
That, well, we wouldn't wish that on anyone. Inspections are truly terrible. Thrall is not lying at this moment.
Yep. Uh,
Well, but I think even the humans should be ready for the meeting by now. Should we continue?
very well.
I would ask you to have patience with them, but please don't.
I wasn't planning on it.
Excellent. Let's see what a Tellarite can do. And just start the elevator again.
So
So, what do I get on my insight, my friend?
Oh.
Sorry.
um, I'll presume. Do you have Shira in the room with you? Would be my first
Yeah.
question. Okay, so you are as Saral and what's his face, Administrator Gant are headed your way. You are you're in one of the conference rooms and you are reviewing over the last transmission that you received from Chieftain Hoglul. I'll ask you for an insight and command, and I would ask, what are you trying to get out of this? Like, is there a particular element of this that you are trying to dissect?
I am trying to see the honesty overall with his statements throughout the entire process. While certainly he has reservations because I am still the lawman and an outsider out that, certainly there's going to be some hesitation, but his facts and the statements he's making, I am looking for body language or uh, interesting phrases or vocabulary he made when I asked him certain questions or asked him towards uh, the topics at hand. When he explained things to me, what was his disposition or vocabulary choices he made, um, that I can discern uh, the quality of his information and where exactly we're going. Where
Okay,
exactly he wants to go versus where he's trying to avoid.
yeah. So I guess I'll ask you to roll insight and command versus, we'll call this his control and command. Shira,
Yep.
since you are also there, you may assist as well.
Um,
Insight and
I'm going to use my value of the line between disorder and order lies in logistics, is because I know administration like a fucking heartbeat, and so I know all the freaking dodges and whatnot. Um, I know bullshitting because I not only do I invent it, I cut through it. So
Fair enough.
I'm gonna take a momentum if that's fine with people.
on me.
All right,
Okay.
and then diplomacy.
I think I'm going to rule against that in this case, since you're not directly interacting with him right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Nothing else matters there. So, all right. So 3 dice. I will spend 2 momentum to get rid of that 20.
Yep. So you wind up just earning back 1 momentum, as that was a with the auto crit and the
No, I get 2. Yeah. So
yeah, you had the auto crit, you had the 2 successes that you just rolled, and that was against one
and I get
roll.
determination back.
Oh, good. The chieftain only scored, rather, this sort of hindsight roll was. I only gave him a difficulty 1. He is relatively easy to read, so you would have had 3 momentum incoming, but because you had a complication and you elected to buy that off, 2 of those momentum went towards taking care of that, so you get back 1 point of momentum after this roll.
Yep.
As near as you can tell, the chieftain seems pretty straightforward in his dealings. There are obvious signs of irritation and discomfort, but still, like, a very forward sort of, like, aggressive, or at least as much projection of strength as he can manage in this case. If anything, the biggest thing that seems to mark his behavior is hesitation at elements, and it really seems to deal with the points that he struggled with were anything about letting people aboard the station or letting word get out. Uh, he doesn't. It doesn't seem like he was trying to necessarily like scare you off necessarily or say that you shouldn't be here, but he doesn't want word about the situation leaving right away.
All right. I'm going to if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna spend one moment for arcane information. I want to know regarding the sickness and plague that's afflicting. I tried to ask him in very much details, and he kept putting it off. Is it more because it doesn't exist? It's not as serious as he claims to be, or he just doesn't know and it's freaking him out.
I think that it's such that he is evading there is more an impression of he just genuinely isn't certain of what exactly is going on with this. He knows that there is an affliction amongst his people and he is treating it seriously, thus the quarantine. However, he like he seems very much a man on a ledge, and like he's just kind of struggling to balance on this.
Okay. All right.
Maybe more on the
Cool.
brink would be a better way to put it. Yeah. Shira, is there anything else that, even though your assist did not score a success, is there anything else you would like to try and look into with this, or any information you would want to obtain?
Won't think of anything right now.
Okay. Well then, the two of you may talk amongst yourselves a moment if you wish, whilst Saral holds up the administrator.
Well, certainly there's a lot more. I hate to say it, but a lot more truth in Nausicaan so far than I had in any sort of experience with the Tellarite.
They're pretty straightforward people.
Mm.
They're blunt. Well, except for their knives.
Your previous experience with the Zogas Corporation, what was their disposition overall?
Just checking. GM. The Jogas Corporation.
Were the same assholes from
the same assholes who came to Alpha Centauri, right?
No, that was actually just an independent Tellarite squadron.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the same people. Okay, my bad.
Okay, just no, they're too small to have really made any impression on the Andorian Empire, so they're not one of the big Tellarite corporations that we've dealt with in the past.
I'm sure you've had experiences with Tellarite in the Frontier. How tend their personalities be? Or dispositions, for that matter?
Guess it really depends what they're after. They generally like trade. They would prefer to do trade rather than shoot, but they will put up a fight if they have to.
Terrific. More or less, Shira, I want you here both as an extra antennae to the whole matter, but Sorry, that was a spam call. An extra antennae to the whole situation, but also to be there as my security to prod him if he starts being a little evasive on certain topics, just to see what sort of response we get him. I need a bad cop.
Oh, I can do backup. I can. You want me to go full insulty, threatening, glaring?
Let's not over dramatize it. Let's
No.
Yes,
Oh,
just be yourself.
just be the efficient, calm, but pointed lieutenant that you have been. Please.
okay. Yeah, I can do that.
If you see a
Backup.
lead, if you see a fray on the edges, tug it a little bit and see what happens.
Right. So no challenging to death matches. Got it.
Let's not do that. She smiles. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, well, as you gain the assurance at least that Shira will not instigate any sort of ritual duel between herself and the ambassador. Thankfully, no significant other is here to accidentally get phase pistoled by them. Saral and Administrator Gant enter into the room. He looks to you, Captain. Looks irritated. He looks to you, Shira. Very irritated. Practically looks back at.
Irritated back.
Yep. Practically looks back to Saral with a look that says, "You didn't say Andorians."
It's like I just look at Shira, not even at the Tellarite, and just murmur loud enough for probably everyone to hear. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So there's only one Andorian here. Only ever needs to be one Andorian.
Really,
Administrator Gant.
one Andorian is too much, if you ask me.
Same for
Well,
Tellarites.
certainly, if you're scared enough, I'm sure that Mrs. Saral can take you right back to your shuttle. Unless you want to speak about business.
For that, Captain, I will put up with your questionable choices in crew.
And I will put up with your smell, she says with a wrinkle of her nose.
The odor is a bit much.
Yes, I must say those archaic decontamination gels, he says. If he had a grasp of quotation marks, then his voice would indicate the tone that he would similarly do the finger air quotes. However, this is not a Mass Effect 2 scenario, and he is not like the Turian counselor who has embraced that. Yes, Reapers.
Yeah, she'll say, "Oh, I'm aware of the smell of those things, and they're very effective. Though, it's certainly not those. Please have a seat while I can tolerate it."
He moves to the opposite end of the room. I think I prefer over here at any rate. The smell in here is well, maybe it's just the decon gel, but I must say it has its own distinction, and I don't know whether that's human or Andorian. On this note, is Saral staying in
Henna's
here,
little
Captain? Are you
twitch.
letting him?
Yeah, Saral can stay here.
Saral, do you choose to stay here?
Open question. Would I ally myself more with him if I were to leave, or would I like betray the trust if I were to stay, like included in the meeting? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's there's a.
I think I would leave actually. And would then, when I'm outside, use the opportunity that I'm finally alone to write a brief note to the captain to send to his pad or screen in the conference room or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now everyone's here, and I will excuse myself.
She'll just And they give a slow nod. Thank you, Mrs. Rawl. I didn't quite ask you to lead the our guest, but it is appreciated, I am sure.
Well, what I appreciate most about you is that you appreciate initiative. And then I just walk out.
And people have been having too much initiative.
That's enough, Lieutenant, she says. Well, Administrator, this is my Lieutenant and Chief of Security, Lieutenant Shira. She voiced some concerns she had and certainly wishes to be part of this meeting. And certainly I have similar concerns and approved of such things. I hope you don't mind. She says with like a very toothy grimace.
Well, if you humans need to bring Andorians in to fight your battles, then I suppose that is your prerogative on your ship.
It is. As is many things.
Yes. So, Captain, you want to start airing these concerns now?
Certainly, I would like things to go smoothly and adequately, one that can even make you happy, though I am sure that part of your brain is rather minor these days. I'm sure the lithium burned it out of you a while ago, but certainly you would like your shipment to leave, and I would like this quarantine and business to go smoothly. The ECS Caravel to be back in its measures and safe, and for anything just for everyone to be back to normal. So how about we discuss of what is going on, and you can enlighten me from your perspective, something that the chief, or perhaps I will admit, my own inexperience might have missed.
Very well. Since I don't imagine the chieftain's been terribly forthcoming about what's going on. It's a pretty simple dynamic as I see it. We went in together on this venture, built up an outpost and a fairly profitable mining operation. But he has ambitions beyond that. Whether he's looking to simply build his own little fiefdom an off-world colony, or if his purposes are more nefarious, which one certainly couldn't put past him. He tried to build up too rapidly, brought in too many people too fast, and now here he is with a population he can barely support, and disease brought in by some vector with that. Maybe it's something hauled in from his own people, maybe it's those terraformers he brought on board.
And you are quite sure that has not spilled within your corporate population?
My people have top-of-the-line respiration equipment that they use in the mines, and the sections between the mine access points and the dock are very well ventilated. We've detected no signs of biological hazards. Whatever infection is going started in their habitation area and continues to spread in their habitation area. This is not our doing.
When did it start?
Now,
When did you first be notified, or your workers be notified of such a concern?
my first knowledge of it came, I would say, within. Oh, thinking. He takes a moment to think back, looking out into space.
It hasn't been that terribly long overall.
No, it's scarcely been over a week that the chieftain decided to let me know that there was some sort of illness Indeed, we started noticing when some people weren't showing up to work. The chieftain was not exactly forthcoming on a lot of these issues, and only revealed that when I brought up the issues with this and how he might be in breach of his contract if his labor isn't going to be consistent.
And it's stuck within the Nausicaan population. It did not jump species this
It may
contagion.
well be hitting some of the others. I think I heard it might have hit a human or two. Also, possibly some of the Capharians that are there.
Capharians. What are Capharians working in a dilithium mine?
They don't work the mines. They are predominantly working in the terraforming and hydroponics. Shira, go ahead and roll me, let's call this Insight and Science, difficulty 1. Actually, I would accept Command alternatively. That might be easier for you.
That's fractionally, yes. Difficulty 1. Okay. Hey!
Oh, 2 successes, so that gets you back a point of momentum. It takes you a moment, but you recall the Capharians are actually an insectoid race. It's an interesting situation with them. They are inhabitants of the third planet of the Tau Ceti system, and indeed indigenous to that place. There's a very strange arrangement as pertains to them. They are, first off, a warp-capable species, generally around warp 2, 2.5, something of the sort. They are broadly known as an insectoid species, well reputed for their agriculture, terraforming, all that sort of thing. Although they do not, they spend more time as like ecological engineers when they leave their world. They don't, for a few reasons. For one, they tend to favor maintaining like a very singular sort of community, so they mostly prefer the home world, rarely branching off into other missions. It is also it is partly due to the fact that they are under the protection of the Vulcan High Command, who instituted a naval quarantine of their world, or at least limits contact with other species that would attempt to arrive on their world. For I think the past 30 or 40 years, it was actually something they instituted shortly after a human colony vessel arrived in the system. The humans actually operate a colony on Tau Ceti 4, something which the Capharians had absolutely no objection to, or at least that is the human side of the story. But the Vulcans decided that either to protect the humans from the Capharians or the Capharians from the humans, they are doing they're doing what the High Command always does.
Metal.
Yep.
You made mention of the chieftain being a bit too diligent with hiring more workers, being more excessive with business. But from what I can see, and what I would hopefully understand, is you are the corporate end of this station. You have the money purse, as it were. Why would you even allow that to go even that far? Certainly, you have final say in who you hire and how further the expansion of the mines can be.
We have some controls and partial rights to the dilithium. Yes. We also have the exclusive shipping rights to it. However, the chieftain still has still has some control and makes decisions about the size of his overall colony. which generally I don't object to so long as there is a steady, healthy supply of workers. As I said, he's tried to go too fast. He pulled in too many people, tried to build up too much, but was what he brought in was his ambitions were not equal to his talent, and managing that is essentially what I am saying. He was not able to build a suitable infrastructure to house that, so there's people crammed into barely livable conditions. Clearly, some sort of disease has made it through, and now is causing a problem for the rest of us. I don't know how much he's vetted these farmers and terraformers, or even the supplies that they brought, or any of his other imports. It's just a mismanaged affair. This really should just be a mining colony as opposed to a fully fledged habitation that he's setting up, but he's got his ambitions.
Craig, you want to say something? I thought I heard you speak.
Um,
You good?
so what the so what was the last vessel to visit before the outbreak? You seem to be blaming the Catharians, or not lack of health and safety standards by the Norsicans.
Their last shipment was in, or rather, their last colony group was in a few weeks ago. After that, our ship arrived, although it has been largely confined to the port, and then the most recent arrival was the caravel itself. But, well, what medical professionals we have here, they tell me all sorts of things. This virus could have been incubating, or bacteria, whatever infection it is. I don't know. He's not telling me much. It's not like we have samples to work off of.
You seem to have a worrying lack of information about the virus.
Yes, a very capable administrator with so much insight, she says with a frown.
Look, we're doing our part.
The Norsicans, they provide security for this station.
They do.
So no Tellarite involvement in the security side. You're just purely supplying the shipping and the mining.
We have security personnel to maintain the security on our facilities, at the mine transit parts of the dock and within our own station. It is a small complement, but it suits our job. They police their own people.
So you don't really have any involvement with the Tellarite military?
No. And believe me, I don't think it's good for any of us if the Tellarite fleet gets involved here.
And why would that be the case?
He pauses for a moment. Because, Captain, if a Tellarite ship were to arrive here before we have this issue stitched up, well, they have the authority over my people, and they would ultimately be, if they see that there's a crisis of any sort, and, well, that's a chance for them to levy inspections, fees, create risk to our hull here, thus the danger to our cargo. They prefer a truly barbaric practice, something by the name of a civil forfeiture, rather than extracting fees from us by monetary means. They would likely just impound our dilithium, and the intrepid commander like that would probably sell off and take the profits for themselves. Of course, with the discovery of a Earth vessel here, well, that's bad news for you, because they might think that your involvement in this health crisis, especially when one of your freighters was here near the start of the outbreak. They might seek to impound them too and declare a quarantine. It might scale up the incidence here. I will tell you, Captain, I might actually see a way out for all of us.
Her eyes narrow, but she doesn't say anything. She waits.
My people are safe in their facility, but we cannot launch our vessel without having at least having stalled the Nausicaans for a bit of time. They have some control over the docking arms that we do not. If, by whatever means you deem fit, you were able to get the Nausicans to allow us to leave, or otherwise guarantee our departure sooner rather than later, why, I could see that a Tellarite ship comes here, but under very different circumstances. Perhaps that they know that we are being held hostage by the Nausicans, that they are imposing this quarantine over their own mess when we ourselves are safe, that they are holding on to human citizens, and that an Earth ship is here to help with strictly peaceful intentions, and one that has acted in the interests of Tellar Prime. That ship could arrive here, and it could be of great help to us, and not only could we find a quicker resolution to this situation, but perhaps even pave the stones for a more pleasant contact.
She just watches, and a malign smile slowly spreads on her face. I certainly am amazed at your incredible wit, Administrator. But let me be very clear, as certainly there are some factors in there I would like to make it quite known. And I want a screen wipe and him storming off pissed. He would definitely let him know, no way in fucking hell.
Yep.
And where he can put his dilithium, over the sake of the value of lives in both this colony or the station or anywhere else, just because he desired that he wanted to pursue his profit margin. Yeah, more or less.
So
But more
smash
colorful.
So
more colorful.
smash cut to a string of obscenity from the string of obscenities that could not be aired on the network to
Yeah.
Gant just storming off, barely even acknowledging you, Saral, as you leave. Or as he leaves.
It's just in Tellarite because the translator conveniently just refuses to translate.
Yeah, Earth translators aren't that good right now, so you get a grumbling, rough language. But yeah, the three of you, I guess, would be kind of at the entrance as the administrator huffs off back towards the turbo lift.
Yeah, as the door opens, says, Lieutenant, make sure he gets off my damn ship.
Be delighted to.
My Tellarite is quite rusty, but I'm pretty sure he insulted your family. Or your command style. I'm not good at the verbs, to be honest.
Yep. And I think with that, there'll just be a moment of glances between Saral and Sharp as Shira walks off to make sure he goes to the right direction. And I think that because we are hitting that 3-hour mark, this would be the scene where we get ready to cut off, as your first bit of diplomacy here seems to go a little bit awry, but more mysteries await, both with the chieftain's motives and even more pressingly with the mysterious disease that afflicts the station. So I think that is where we are going to cut off here. Thanks to everybody for stopping by. We will be back next week at 1 p.m. EST, and we'll be back at our normal 6 p.m. GMT time for those watching in those other time zones. We are falling back an hour ourselves, so we'll see you we'll see you then. But till then, catch you guys later.